Yeah, baby. Come on and bring yourself in. Clarence glanced out into the hallway and shut the door. You know you want it, she said. She sat down. Sheila was dressed like always, with a shirt that revealed cleavage pulled up by a too small bra that offered it to the world on a tray. She'd already lost some of her game. The shirt she wore over her tank was worn, a flannel plaid worn more for warmth than look. Her jeans were last year's tight acid wash instead of the black leggings girls were wearing now. This is a good time to mention that this story happens in the late 80s. But Clarence didn't care. Shit, half his clothes were still from the 70s, and he liked their style better than the overpriced jabots and Z Cavaricis that brothers wore now. Pants showed you were a man, he'd always thought, and so, true to form, he had on a dark pair of brown work pants like his father wore when he worked for the city. When he wanted to get wild for a club or something, he had a pair of black nylon parachute pants with a lot of zippers in the back of his closet. Even if the wash on Sheila's pants was wrong for the year's fashion, the tight-ass seams didn't hide a thing. She'd gained a few extra pounds, but what woman in her 30s hadn't? Her hair could use a new cut, but she had shed that jerry curl like the bad habit it was, and now sported a do that Clarence could actually put his fingers in. He shrugged, knowing Sheila wasn't much. Still, he had good times with her. It touched something inside him to have her around. She sucked on the pipe and reached for the lighter to light the Brillo again. Nah, she said, this here's done. She held out the pipe for Clarence to add more rock. Clarence set her up again with a bigger piece. He cooked it and brought the pipe up to his mouth. Sheila started to protest, but he put his fingers over her lips. When he dragged in the smoke now, he didn't take it into his lungs. Instead, he kept it in his mouth and leaned forward, brought his lips to hers and kissed her, pushing the smoke in. She moaned her approval and leaned back onto the bed, pulling at his shirt. He resisted, stood and hit the pipe again for himself now, dragging deeply. He was hoping that if he stood in front of her long enough, she would go for his belt. By the time he had his hit, though, she was reaching for the pipe again, greedy for more. Clarence didn't care. His blood pumped hard in his veins and everything was all right with his world. What he loved so much was to hit the rock and have Sheila hit his cock at the same time. He stood and waited, then flopped down onto the bed next to her when the feeling moved him. She smoked what she wanted and then leaned toward him, started running her hand across his chest. So where you been at? Sheila reached for his belt. Thin, warm rays of light shone through the blinds and onto the side of her face. He took the pipe as she went for his buckle and pulled on the belt's end to open some slack. Clarence licked his lips and brought the glass up, thinking about what would come next. A beautiful idea that got interrupted by a knock at the door. He sat up, put his fingers to his lips. Sheila hummed her agreement as she opened his belt and pulled at the button, already unzipping his fly with her other hand. C-Dub! Someone called from the hall. A deep voice that sounded like it might be Black Jesus or Rough. Roughneck he didn't care about, never had to deal with if he didn't want to. Black Jesus was a different story. Clarence sat up and listened. That was when Sheila started licking her lips, and he saw them shine as he put her hand down his boxers and pulled him out. He was sprung from the crack. Nothing like it. Then she kissed him, and when he felt her lips on his cock, he fell back onto the bed. C-Dub! Clarence! He heard calling from outside, but in his world, all that existed was his dick and Sheila's mouth on it. He knew only lips, tongue, warmth. Then her hand was a part of it too. That was what he liked. Fucking Clarence! He heard and knew it was Milk's voice. Who could miss recognizing that little fucker? It had to be Milk and Rough outside then. Two brothers he definitely did not give a shit about. Fuck off, he yelled. Sheila stopped in surprise, but he grabbed the top of her head. A moment later, she started again. The next thing Clarence heard was a bang. It sounded like someone hitting his door with more than fists or feet. "The fuck?" he said. He opened his eyes to see the ceiling tiles above him like a chessboard. Then the sound came again, and this time it was more ragged, like wood breaking, and he looked up to see the door pop off the frame, lock and all, opening inward from the hallway. "Motherfucker." He sat up. Sheila stopped, and he felt cold air on his wet cock as soon as her mouth was gone. "Lovely language tonight." Thanks for coming out, everybody. This will be the last time you ever see me at Babylon Salon. Sorry, guys. Roughneck came in behind the now broken door, and Milk was right behind him. Sheila screamed at them to get out. "Yo!" Ruff looked like he'd been about to say something else, but when he saw what he had interrupted, he froze. "Oh, shit," Milk said. "What's wrong? You motherfuckers have never seen a man's dick before in your little lives?" Clarence pushed Sheila's hand off his shaft and waved himself at them. "See this shit? I'ma beat you with my dick."
There's a picture.
Roughneck turned to Milk like he had no idea what they were getting into, and he was right. They had no fucking clue. Clarence stood up, Sheila right behind him. She said, "Yo motherfuckers get the fuck out or I will fuck you up my damn self." Clarence was hard and he liked the look of it. Liked it even better when he squeezed the base with his hand. "Yeah," he said. "You like that?" Ruff stared with eyes wide, his eyebrows halfway up his forehead. "Put that shit away," he said, holding his hand in front of him so he could meet Clarence's eyes without seeing his lower half. Clarence walked toward them. "No, hold up." He went back to the foot of the bed and picked up the gun he had stolen from the cop, turned to them with his dick in one hand and the gun in the other. "Now what? Tell C-Dub which one of these you want between your lips." "Hold up." Milk raised his own gun, a small revolver. Sheila smiled at Clarence. She did not seem to be upset at all by the gun. She put both hands on her hips and started to say something, but then she put one finger across her upper lip. She was trying to keep from laughing. "What?" Clarence said. "44 Charter Arms Bulldog, motherfucker," Milk said. "Paid for." Sheila smiled wider, and now Clarence looked down. "You best put that shit away now," she said. "Bitch!" "Yo, listen to the lady," Ruff told him. "I'ma shoot that thing off." Milk lowered his gun, still pointing it at Clarence. "You afraid to fuck with a man got his dick out?" Clarence asked. Ruff held up his hands and took a step back. "No way It's not my heart, I don't think. "No way I want to get some AIDS up in this shit." Milk stepped back as well, but kept his gun pointed. Clarence felt his pants start to drop and then fall to his ankles. A cold breeze rushed across his bare legs.